All right, so now we're going to modify the program just a little bit more, and you'll learn how to make this as short as possible. Okay, so again, we were copy pasting, and we want to make it so that all I have to do is just type in SOS down here, and it'll be done. All right. So in order to do that, we have to teach it what an S is, because this right here, this part right here is an S. So how would we do that? With a function. So let's go after our last function that we made. So right before setup, but after the void space. Go right there, and we're going to teach it how to do void and then S. We want to do caps. It matters if you do cap or not. Let's do caps just because. Yeah. All right. Open, close, and then no curly bracket. Enter. Okay, so we're going to teach it that by just copy pasting it. C and Control V. Boom, done. And let's teach it how to do an O. Okay, so void and O. Open, close, curly. Okay. Enter. And let's teach it the O, which is this middle section here. And right here, done. And we have the delay inside of it. So we don't have to worry about this delay anymore because you just include it with every single letter. Now, if I was mean, I would say, okay, do the entire alphabet, but I just want you to do your name, okay? So do your name as well, as far as all the letters in your name, because I want you to say SOS and then your name. So let me show you how to just do SOS real quick. I'll leave space there because we're still going to use that. So we'd say S, and then, oops, capital S, and then O, and S. Of course, space, and then whatever else we wanted to say. Okay, so if we want to say SOS and then we wanted to say who is in trouble, like our name, then we would do that. So if I wanted to start out with my name, Byram, I would come here and I'd say, okay, so it's a da, 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 da. So I need to teach it that one. So I'll show you teaching it one more letter, and then you guys need to, before you turn it in, you need to teach it all the letters of your name. You can just do your first or your last name and then turn it in. Okay, just copy paste the entire code and turn that in a Word document. All right, so how do I do B? Void. And then I like to separate things a little bit, get a little space there. So B and open, close, close, and then curly, and what was it? Did da, 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 da. So I'd say da, and then di. Now look at me, I'm gonna do di 3 times. There is a way. You want me to show you? I could show you real quick. So instead of typing out the 3 times, you could tell it to just repeat that 3 times. Show you with a for loop. Let me just do it right here on the S, right here. I'll just do it on the S. What I'm going to show you is called a for loop, and it is really nice when you want to do stuff over and over again. Only 3 times it might not be worth it, but a for loop is really cool, and you can use it to repeat things and to increment within them. So later on, I'm going to teach you how to light up a light and to go from dim to bright. So if I say I want to turn on this light at 0 and then all the way up to 100 in brightness, in increments, you would use this for loop to do that. And you could go all the way through all the increments of brightness, 0 to 100, which would take like 200 lines of code, but only use like 3 lines of code. Okay, so the first thing you do when you go into a for loop is like what we did right here. You create a variable. So you first have to tell it what type. So it's an integer. Okay, so you say int, and whatever variable you create in a for loop, it forgets about it after it's done. So we always just use a generic thing, like I, the letter I. I'll say so, and then you set it equal to whatever you want to start out with. Okay, so I'll start out with 0. Then I do a semicolon. Now, usually we've been hitting enter every time we do a semicolon, but now we're just going to space over. It's still considered, these are still considered like 3 separate lines of code within these parentheses. So a for loop needs 3 things. First, a variable, so it can use that to know what to do when it starts and how to get out of that for loop. So first, it's where to start, and then we can just say when to end. Okay, so it will stay in as long as this condition, it's a condition. So first is a variable, second is a condition. So as long as I is, let's see, less than 3, okay, because I want to do 3 di. And then do a semicolon, and then I'll say, now this is a line of code that it will perform after every single time. And so, and this is how we count. So we say I equals I plus 1. Okay. And then we would close it and then do our, now this is kind of like a function. So open curly and then close curly. And because we're doing this, I'll just move that one up and get rid of those 2. Right. We don't want to repeat the delay 3 times. We're just doing a di 3 times. Okay. So basically what happens as it goes into the for loop is first it says, okay, I is equal to 0. All right. And I will continue to do whatever is inside the curly brackets until this condition is false. And each time I do whatever's in between the curly brackets, I will perform this equation. So you start out with I is equal to 0, you do 1 di. You come back, you add I is 0, and so it says, okay, now add 1. I is now equal to 1. Is it less than 3? Well, yes, it is. So it does another di. And then it adds 1, then it becomes a 2, and it's still less than 3, so it does another di. And now it adds 1, and now I is equal to 3. Okay, so I less than 3 is not the same as I equals 3. So therefore, it has to jump out, and then it comes down to whatever is below the curly bracket, and then continues on with the program. So it'll, if you're not careful about what you stick in here as the equation, you can get stuck inside of a for loop, and it'll do it just forever. Okay, so be careful about how you. I've had students that accidentally put in the wrong sign here, and all sorts of things. Now, programmers got tired. Programmers are really lazy, and they got tired of entering this entire this equation here. Oh, four things is too much. Let's change that to I plus plus. You can do either or. So you can say I equals I plus 1, or you can just say I plus plus. So if you want to increment through things in 2s, you have to go I equals I plus 2. But if you want to just do 1 at a time, then I++ is a shortcut. If you want to subtract, if you want to start out at a full brightness and work your way down, you can go I minus minus. So that's a really cool little trick there, is the plus plus or minus minus. Anything other than +1 or -1, you can't do the shortcut, and therefore you have to know the other. That's why I taught you the other one first. But from here on out, if it's going to be simple, I'll just use a plus plus. All right, so there's a for loop. Just do it to one or two of your letters. If you find it useful, keep using it. If you don't, then don't use it. It will come in a lot more handy when we have it replacing like 500 lines of code. Okay. Right now, you might not see the benefit of it, but you will later. All right, so that's the S. I taught it a B, but I did forget one thing, didn't I? And that. Don't forget your delay after every single letter. That's in between letters. Otherwise, I'll subtract points. All right, so that right there, and then you would teach it. After I taught it my name, I would say, B, and then Y, R, O, and then M. Okay, now, do I need to teach it O? I don't, because we already taught it O for the S.O.S. Okay? So if your name has S and O in it already, then you're in luck, because you don't have to teach it those letters. Just teach it all the rest of the letters in your name. Go to Google Images and just type in Morse code, and you'll find something like this, and then just figure it out. All right? So good luck, turn it in, and we'll all be happy.